You're listening to a podcast from the Finnish Football Show. Yes, this is the Finnish Football Show. Welcome back, listener, to another episode. I'm Mark Wiltshire, and today we're going to be looking back at the last couple of international games for the men's team, the Huuhkajat. And to do this, I'm joined by our very own Huuhkajat in their Finland shirts there. First of all, in order of when they appeared in the waiting room of the Zoom meeting, Keke Mylläri. Hi, Keke.
Morjes.
And Ali Manson. Hi, Ali.
Moi.
And it's a live, living, breathing Ali Manson, not just one of those two-dimensional voice notes.
Well, I hope I won't sound two-dimensional now.
You've got the excuse of a young baby. How's things going there?
Yeah, she's great. I'm a new parent, so really, really loving these first few months.
Really, really loving the first few months of sleep deprivation, dirty nappies.
I'm getting used to the nappies now.
Good to hear, and like it's. I think if people like those around the show can't be there when we're recording, then getting those voice notes just adds a little bit of variety to it. And last week we had 4 different people phoning in with their thoughts, and I think that's all. Yeah. That's all good stuff. But to the matter in hand, let's start looking back to last Thursday, the 10th, and a game that ended up Finland 1, Ireland 2. I think before the game, many of us were hoping this would be the game where Finland kind of got some points in the bag, and you know, it was between Finland and Ireland who would come bottom, I think, after the first round of matches. And Finland lined up with I don't know, about the team, Keke. I'll read through it. It was Radetzky in goal, Stahl, Hoskonen, Ivanov and Galvez at the back, Kamara, Schula and Walter in the midfield, and Lod, Pohjanpalo and Keskinen up front. And I don't know, I thought that looked like a team that could do a job against Ireland.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I mean, it definitely looked like a forward-thinking team. I wasn't surprised to see Stahl start. You know, he's started the last couple of games and looked all right defensively and done his best going forward. I was a little bit surprised to see Galvez start the match. Not his first start, but if this is, I mean, sorry to say it straight away, but I was thinking about these games, and it totally reminded me of what we discussed in the last episode. And when Rasmus said, you know, well, first of all, he said he didn't give a damn about the Nations League, and second of all, he said, you know, like maybe this league, they've realised that this is maybe a step beyond us, and they're using these games as a bit of an experimental ground. Because I honestly thought if we were looking to sort of win this game, and I don't want to take away from Thomas Galvez, I thought he played quite well, but if we're looking to sort of win this game, I would have expected to see Jere Uronen in that position. You know, it was just but then maybe the new coaching staff and the new sort of regime at Huuhkajat are treating these last few Nations League matches as an experiment. But I digress a little bit. We can discuss that further. But yeah, I mean, I thought Leo Volta deserved his place. We've spoke about him. He's been doing fantastic in the Allsvenskan, and I honestly think Volta played really, really well.
He was really involved right from the beginning. He was in midfield, but he was dropping back, picking the ball up from the defenders,
and then bringing it, carrying it forward. You know, and that was like
after the England game. I think it was Satu made the comment like, "Who?" And of course,
Yeah,
we follow it more closely. You particularly, Keke, following the players that go overseas. But I hadn't seen much of him play. He's young and he's overseas, so
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't get to see them actually play. And he came on a sub, I think, against England,
yep.
and yeah, in the first game, and then to in this game he really showed something of himself. I was quite impressed.
Yeah, I mean, some people don't like to see midfielders dropping that deep and trying to pick up the ball, but I thought it really, really worked. As you say, he was coming back, but it was kind of in sort of transition moments when one of the centre backs or one of the full backs had gone forward. Volta was sort of dropping deep, and then when the ball inevitably came back into the Finland half, he was picking it up and carrying it forward and looking for that decisive pass. So I think that personally that worked. Yeah, as you say, Rasmus Schuller there doing his regular job, and I thought, uh, obviously we scored. We'll get onto that, but with the sort of Island mistake that Joel Poyanpalo pounced on, really great to see him score for the national team again. But but yeah, it's like we were doing really well, and then they sort of changed it, and I mean I couldn't believe it when Schuller was hooked. I was like, what? Do you know what I mean? He was doing such a diligent job there in the
Mm.
midfield, and no disrespect, I think Oliver Antman came on for Schuller, but there was a sort of a couple of substitutions at that time. Matti Peltola came on for Topi Keskinen, and Peltola probably went into that Schuller role. And
Yeah.
yeah, again, no disrespect to Matti Peltola, but Rade was having an absolute stonker of a game and was hooked. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean he was one of Finland's sort of top rated players on the legendary FOTMob app.
Mm.
But and I agree with you, and it was interesting because I felt like we were doing okay. Taking that early goal. Ali, maybe take us through that the Finland goal in that game. It came quite early on, 17 minutes.
Yeah, it came on the 17th minute, and it was one of those where Ireland were just sort of knocking the ball about. I mean, we'll probably come on to the non-existent press as well in this game, but there was certainly non-existent press in the 17th minute. But we sort of at this stage didn't really need it in where the ball was, and then just I haven't got the Ireland defender's name who lost the ball.
It was Collins from Brentford.
It was Collins. Okay. So a guy that is pretty used to, a good level of football, but
Mm.
it was one of those because I was, in the Pohjoiskaarre, so the other end of the pitch, and when the ball just kind of broke to Yolle, it was like, how the hell did this happen? And it all happened, particularly the ball getting to Yolle almost in slow motion. Now, when he then got the ball, everyone realized, okay, now he's totally in, he's got to
Yeah,
score. But there was about a second of silence in the stadium of people going, what the
what
hell has
just
just
happened?
happened? And then, so then, frantically trying to then, load up the Ula app and get the live feed and then sort of going back
Yeah,
20,
you and
30
30,000
seconds.
others in the
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
stadium.
like that. Are you kidding me? But yeah, so it was a really good finish as well. I mean, Yola's a really good finisher. He's it's his bread and butter really. But those
yeah.
chances are not easy when you've got all the time in the world from a
To think
defender's
about it, yeah.
mistake. You've got so much time to think about it. So I think he deserves a lot of credit. And he didn't really go for power either. He sort of did place it
Hmm.
Yeah.
past Kelleher.
Yeah.
So yeah, really good finish, 1-0. And after that goal, it did feel quite comfortable. I mean, as we said, Rada was controlling the game really,
Yeah.
and I thought Galvez looked good on the ball. Um, yeah, Leo Volta we said was doing well. Lod was kind of popping up all across the pitch. So was Kamada. Keskinen had a few decent runs, and so I think things
Hmm.
were looking pretty positive. But I just kind of go back to, was it the Kazakhstan game, like last November or last October, when it was 1-0, very comfortable. And then, of course, then, in that game, ended up losing 2-1 really late. And you just feel with this Finland team, unless they're 2 or 3 goals ahead,
Yeah, something could
nothing
go
is going.
against them. Yeah,
Yeah, and the first half, I made a note that I thought Yolle was terrific. The whole first half,
Yeah.
he was at the back, winning headers. He was holding the ball up, playing his teammates through, and then obviously scoring the goal. And it it was a game of two halves, the old cliche. But in the first half, um, Ireland had 57% of the ball. And yet we seemed fairly comfortable. In the second half, Finland had 66% of the ball, but
yeah,
but conceded two goals. It was
A
really really
funny old
weird.
game, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I'm really surprised by that stat, because I sort of thought it would be totally the other way around, as I'm sure you both did as well. Um, I think also looking at the stats, that Finland had 3 shots on target at home to
yeah,
Ireland. I mean, we've banged on about, creating chances and scoring goals is a bit of a problem for this team. Um, and the proof is right there. 3 shots on target in
yeah,
a game against Ireland, it just isn't good enough. Um, I thought Toppy did all right. But again, sometimes his finishing let us down, or the final ball, he got a little bit too eager. But that's part of his game, and he's going to improve and get better at that. I thought he was actually much better against England, which is kind of strange because he's up against some of the best defenders in the world in that game, which we will talk about later on. So I really fancied him against Ireland, but particularly in the second half, they had his number, so it wasn't really surprising that he was taken off. Um,
Here's one stat that maybe explains what happened in the second half. Finland made 250 accurate passes in the second half compared to 100 from Ireland, but two-thirds of those were in the Finnish half.
yeah,
yeah.
And they hit 14 accurate long balls, um, but that was only 35% of the long balls. So it seems like we're keeping the ball in our own half and then lumping it long and not
yeah,
very effectively.
or quickly either.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. I think if you're going to play Topi Keskinen, for example, there's no point in kind of letting them get back into shape and then trying to go long with him, because he needs space to run into. Um, Whereas, yeah, we had players like, Rada, Kamara, Lod as well, who can, you know, create triangles and,
yeah.
really kind of create play themselves. But if the team isn't going to be set up that way, it's sort of a little bit strange as to why you're trying to get all those players into the same kind of space.
And this may okay. Well, let's first of all just do the details of the goal. In the 57th minute, Ireland had a free kick on their right. It was lofted to the back post, and Scales got up, and it was kind of a lofted header, really, sort of back across the face of the goal and into the far corner from his perspective, past Luque's left hand
Mm.
inside that left post, and it was soon after that Mark Hayton made the comment, "What do we make of the Finland press?" And I must confess, at first I thought it was a genuine question, so I spent the next 8 minutes just watching for the Finland press before realizing, oh no, there isn't really one.
No.
Yeah,
Um, and yet we did then had a couple of chances. Glenn Kamara had a chance. There was some nice play down Finland's right. Ball came to him in the middle and he curled it just wide and hit what I believe is the stanchion post at the
yeah.
back of the net. In the 63rd
It was
minute.
it was nice to see him have a go though, because
Yeah, he don't
in the
score.
in the following game, in the England game, he had a chance where he should have shot, and he opted for the pass. But so yeah, obviously in the Ireland game, it was nice to see him have a dig. Because you've like we said, 3 shots on target out of a total of what was it, 10 shots compared to
Actually,
Ireland.
only 7 shots. Only
Sorry, yeah,
seven.
seven shots. So and three, but you do have to shoot, don't you? So yeah, it was nice to see him have a pop at least.
Finland had one chance right near the end of the game. Benjamin Chelman had a header, terrific header, right across the face of the goal and just wide of the post. 1 minute before Ireland then went down the other end and got the winner. And here, Ebosele on the right hand side, down Finland's left, beat Galvez and Pukki just on the edge of the Finland box, crossed it to the back post and finds Robbie Brady, who just smashes it high into the net past Luque. And 88 minutes. That's a
Yeah,
sucker
all
punch.
over. I mean, we had a bit of trouble with that fella when he came on. Sorry, Ebosele,
Ebosele,
was it?
yeah.
Yeah, we had a bit of trouble with him, and yeah, again, I don't want to dig any of these players out. I think they're all honest to a man. They're all doing their absolute very best. You can see the work rate, and you can see that it hurts them as much as it does us fans when we seem to concede at the end of these games time and time again. But with the game at, obviously I said about Rade. I don't want to keep going on about, but with the game at 1-1, you take off your enforcer, defensive midfielder who's sort of playing really well, and then Ireland counteract that with Ebosele comes on. He's got Galvez on toast after Galvez had done really well getting forward in the beginning of the game. So I don't, why, do you not just bring Uranen on to try and deal with that as a defender? But yeah, sorry, Ali.
No, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. If you see that, because I thought Galvez on the ball was really strong and like really comfortable with it, but of course he's young and against a really pacey winger, a couple
Yeah,
of pacey wingers as well. Like, before Obisele came or yeah, Ebisele came on, he had to do quite a lot of pace against him. So I do totally understand that. The point I was gonna make was, against Greece for the first 25, 30 minutes, we saw a really new, exciting, different way of playing for England, for Finland. And of course, like, when the goals in that
I think
game
I
went
think it's
in.
safe to say that we saw a very new way of playing for England against Greece as well. If you watch that
Yeah,
game,
I haven't seen the highlights, so I'll take your word for it. But yeah, against Greece, and of course we know what happened in that game, but we could see something different in that game that we could go, okay, well that worked for a little bit, was really exciting and different. Let's take that forward. Of course, you don't expect Finland to set up against England at Wembley like that, but maybe Ireland at home, you do. When the onus is on you to win the game, to be the team that's more on the front foot, let's try to control the ball, or if Ireland are going to be a good possession team, then press them. But yeah, as Mark alluded to, there
there
was
was
no
no
press.
press.
So I'm a little bit confused as to where the team are at in the sense of tactics, and maybe the players are as well. I think instinctively they're probably quite happy to be the underdog against a team like England,
Yeah.
sit deep, play on the counter. Like that sort of feels like it comes naturally to them. But the Ireland game, it felt like everyone was confused, not just the players, but everyone in the stands as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, well, obviously we'll get onto the England game and the sort of the sentiment in the stadium after that, but it's just, I mean, even, well, talking about the England game, even and to your point, Ali, even the ITV commentators were saying, so they've obviously had their ear to the ground or spoken to some locals. They were saying that, the Finland players themselves are not quite sure who's in charge. Is Rive still there as a little finger puppet, as a mouthpiece, just to but it's not actually him running the show anymore. You've got Ari Lahti, who's FA president and the owner or chief
Cups.
exec of Cooks, which is you've got Honsul doing both jobs. It's all it's just a bit incestuous at the moment and a little bit conflict of interest here. And when it's not working, those sort of questions start to rear their ugly head. And obviously we've got to give the new coaches Tamatani on Tim Sparv in there. Who I trust Tim Sparv implicitly. I'm sure if he gets a grip on it, then things will turn around. But part of me feels really, really sorry for Rive. Like, is he still the boss? Like, nobody actually knows. Do you know what I mean? And there's all this. Do the players even know where these? I mean, we're not privy to what happens in the dressing room, but do they even know who's running the show? So,
yeah, and I think against Ireland, you could tell that the fans in the stadium are now being quite vocal about, their opinions on whether River should be the manager or not. I think, the Finnish fans have been pretty patient since the previous Euros, so Euro 2020. And there were boos at the end of full time against Ireland. When River's name was read out before the game, also a couple of boos, which is disappointing, particularly before the game. But that's how people feel, and maybe a certain section of the fans just feel like the only way things will properly change is if there is a change of head coach or manager, whichever River's title is actually. And of course, that has seeped into the players. Like, they will be totally aware of what the fans are thinking at this point.
Yeah, I think we can come back to what the fans are thinking and their feelings being expressed when we talk about the England game as well. I felt really flat after this Ireland game, and then we go into the game on Sunday against England, and I was kind of nervous about it, to be completely honest. My phone for the whole game was going off like a pinball machine every few seconds. There were messages flying in left, right, and centre. But I'll go through the team there because I guess the spine of it was similar. But then there were a few significant changes. So Luke in goal, Hoskonen and Ivanov at centre back again, but this time Peltola dropped in to make it kind of a five-man defence, three centre backs with Uronen on the left and Alho on the right. Then a midfield two of Schuller and Kamara with Jensen on the right and Keskinen on the left, and Chelman playing on his own up front. And I thought, to be honest, that team looked, or that lineup looked pretty sensible. And compared to the game in England, where I think Finland had less than 20% possession, in this game, Finland had 31% possession. And the press, they found it. Someone clearly left it in the team bus for the Thursday, but they brought it out on Sunday, and I felt like they were. I mean, it's difficult. It's England, and it was England that did enough to get the job done, and were plenty good enough to beat Finland. But still, it's England. Finland were forcing mistakes and making chances throughout the game, and actually, okay, we had almost twice as many shots, but still only 3 on target. But anyway, there was more to be enthused about, even though it was a game where really we got out of it exactly what we were expecting at the beginning, which was no points. But I made a comment that we in the 7th minute it was Finnish pressure that led to Benjamin Chelman having a shot that was blocked, and then it fell to Keskinen and he scuffed it wide. And I wasn't getting carried away, but at least you were thinking, okay, we're trying to take this to England a little bit. And I guess the other comment I made quite early on was that Finland are trying to press, and when they have the ball, trying to pass it through the midfield, and then get it past the defenders. Very, very different to the second half of the Ireland game, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just to start with the lineup, mate, I think, yeah, you're right. It was, again, this is why I go back to Rasmus's comment. You know, are the guys treating this competition at this level as a bit of an experiment? Because, you know, the lineup, all players who we're well aware of and who have played and all that, but like, and I get, you know, some coaches and managers change the lineup for the opposition. Some coaches and managers stick with their preferred 11 throughout, no matter who the opposition are. So, you know, that's down to them. But yeah, the only one that I was pleased to see Uronen back in the side, because I thought he played really well at Wembley against England. Yeah, the only one that I sort of raised a little eyebrow about was Nikolai Alho, who's not played masses of football recently, I don't believe, but he really held his own. He really did. I thought Stahl would start, as he had started the most recent games, but fair play. Nikolai Alho came in, was good going forward, and was not bad in his defensive duties either. So yeah, good to see him. Good to see him, you know, doing what he does. So yeah, I mean, Jensen, it was exciting to see Jensen in there. Chelman again, another.
He had a really good game, I thought, Jensen. I'm not his biggest fan, and he was playing in this sort of wide midfield winger role, if you like. And I thought he really got involved, winning the ball, holding the ball up, and trying to make things happen with it as well. Ali.
Yeah, I think just to sort of double up and compliment Alho in particular, because I have said maybe a couple of times on this podcast that he shouldn't be the starting right back, right wing back for Finland anymore. But I thought, and I still maybe deep down believe that, but credit where credit is due. I thought both him and Jensen on the right hand side, they noticed, or they know that Jack Grealish isn't going to do too much running back. And then also, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold was the left back, and he's not going to want to be too far back either. So I think Alho and Jensen really did a job on that right-hand side, even if it wasn't creating too much or, you know, lots of really nice interplay, but there was still a couple of really decent plays down the right-hand side. They were just at least making things really uncomfortable for England, both in a defensive aspect and also like pressing quite high up on the pitch as well. So I think definitely on that right-hand side, physically, I thought Finland matched England really well.
Yeah, Keke, we both interrupted you. You were talking there about players that you'd noticed doing well, and you mentioned Jensen and triggered us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, that was it really. I mean, and I was just going to go on to Benjamin Chelman as well, you know, another hard-working, honest footballer who really, really gave it his all. You know what I mean? I thought that everyone worked so hard, and obviously you can talk through the England goal. England got the 1-0 lead, but you know, into half time at 1-0 down, we didn't look out of it at all. I can't remember the exact moments, but Jensen had two glorious chances to equalise for Finland, and we were only, obviously the scoreline is what it is, but we were only really undone by that Alexander-Arnold worldy free kick that nobody in the universe saves. And that came on like the 75th minute, didn't it? You know what I mean? So we were well in the game up until then. You know,
yeah, I would say the three England goals all came from a touch of class that opened us up one way or the other. That is
the golf, isn't it, in the talent pool?
Yeah, exactly. Because Finland made some chances. I mean, obviously we had 13 shots and 3 on target. That's more than we made against Ireland. And I was afterwards hearing reports from back home talking about from the England perspective. And Finland were a limited opposition. And it's like, okay, yes, but we didn't do nothing in that game. We created 13 chances in and around the England box. That's not to be sniffed at. And the first goal was that lovely turn from Angel Gomez. I mean, I think I said in our group chat that he took out 5 defenders with one turn and pass. It's actually 4, but fair play, and put it through for Grealish, who just slipped it past Radetzky. You mentioned that free kick from Alexander Arnold in the 73rd minute. Volta fouled Bellingham in just the worst possible place when you're playing against those kind of players, and it was in close to the top corner, and Luque's getting nowhere near it.
I mean, I will say, for a bloke who's in the conversation as the best player in the world, that Bellingham goes over at a gust of wind, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like, come on, look at the size of the geezer compared to Leo Volta. He's going over.
Yeah, Leo Volta must have very, very strong shins.
Oh, mate.
And even the third goal, this was Watkins kind of getting down the wing and pulling the ball back, and Rice arriving just in time to poke it home from the front post. They were all kind of classy goals, and you just think, that's really, really the difference. But I mean, we finished on a bit of a high with the Finland sort of consolation goal. It was a good corner from Finland's left. Hoskonen gets in at the front post, unchallenged really, and powers the header home, and something to cheer about. But now I look back at those two games and the way we're discussing it, okay, we've still got. It doesn't change the fact we got no points from 4 games, and it looks like the trapdoor is certainly swinging below us. But if we look at Finland's performance in that England game, is there something to be optimistic about?
I think if you stood outside with your microphone, Mark, and asked the Finland fans as they were coming out the stadium, I don't think you would have got a positive answer. But for our point of view, trying to, I don't know, is it objectively look back over the 2 pieces and even the campaign as a whole. I mean, there are little positives to hang on to, but when you've only beaten Estonia in a full calendar year, it is difficult to, even for someone like me, to stay optimistic. I mean, I will say again for this game, Rasmus Schuller is hooked again on the hour mark, and again, no disrespect to anyone who comes on. I think the direct substitution was Schuller for Volta. Obviously, Volta plays well and provides the corner for the assist corner for the goal, but I mean, I just don't get it. You've taken your enforcer off against the superior opposition, and when Rade did come to the sideline, I mean, he went over, seemed to say something to Rive. I don't know if it was words of encouragement for the next half hour or whatever, or if it was, what the hell do you think you're doing, mate? Do you know what I mean? But
I don't know if he looked angry, but he certainly seemed to be explaining something when he came off the pitch. I don't lip read, and I certainly don't lip read Finnish. But Ali,
Yeah, I think particularly with the Ireland game, but also the England game to some extent, I just had Robert Taylor on my mind, and I mean, I probably think about him quite a lot, to be honest. But
well, you're a married man with a baby. You shouldn't be having those thoughts.
There's your headline. But it would be really nice to know, like, officially and publicly, the situation of what's going on there, because Finland could really do him right now. Looking at the Ireland game in particular, I mean, Topi played well. Lud played well, but even if he was just coming on for 20 minutes, and I'm not just talking about these games either. I'm just thinking generally. I mean, is he going to be a player that's never going to be available moving forwards? I mean, yeah, because speaking to Finns, going to the game, and every time if I mention Robert Taylor, they just kind of raise their eyebrows and be like, well, it would be nice.
Mm.
And yeah, it would be quite nice to have a player of his quality playing.
And the fact,
Miami's
sorry.
no, yeah, I mean Miami is a long journey, but so is Minnesota, so is Charlotte, Austin. I mean, like these Finns are coming over for the game, and I think it would just be nice to get some clarity on the situation, because I'm sure we can speculate as to why, like we have done already, but just to get a little bit of, maybe closure is the wrong word, but yeah, some clarity on the situation would be nice.
Maybe a new manager, for if a new manager comes in, maybe that sort of wipes the slate clean and everybody's back up for selection on their own merits again. The fans were not happy after the game. I mean, and maybe this explains it. A friend of the show, Larry, Ashiko, fellow Ashiko supporter, was put in a another group chat. He said if Finland lose their next game to Ireland away, this is the worst run ever in competitive games, and that Finland basically is going through their worst period since 1980-81. So, we know it's been a tough year. Some of us, me, Mark, and Rich, remember when we launched this podcast, they were really tough times to be positive about the Finland team as well. But the fans were chanting afterwards, basically that Rive, this is your last game, and uh, F off Arilatti. So that's and Keke, that's why if I'd had my microphone outside the ground afterwards, the fans wouldn't have been feeling in a very optimistic mood.
Yeah, I mean the mood of the fans. I think against England, you almost have to put that to one side and separate it from the overall argument and situation, because Finland can lose 3-1 to England even if Finland were playing really good football throughout the whole calendar year and had won the last 6 games. You can lose 3-1 to England. And also the performance was much better, but the Ireland game in particular was just it just felt like the end, really, and in true Finland style, conceding quite last minute, but it really felt like this was a pattern rather than, oh, we just got unlucky again.
Yeah, I mean, Rive he looks tired. He looks really emotionally beaten and tired. I mean, even down to when there was pictures of him coming on the telly, he just looks a bit haggard. Even though he hadn't shaved properly. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, I don't know. And it's such a shame after what the man has done for Finnish football, for it to be ending a drawn out ending like this. We spoke about should he stay or should he go a few months ago. Obviously, he stayed. I think his contract runs until the end of the next World Cup qualifier, doesn't it? I think. I don't know if it finishes after these couple of games. I can't quite remember now. But yeah, it's like it just seems such a long, drawn out process, and for the results to be as they've been, just picking up 0 points. It's just not a great look. And as you said, Mark and Ali, in the stadium, the fans are making their feelings known. I think almost everyone on the Pohjoiskaarre was just wearing one shoe because they had the other one held in their hand, trying to send a message across to the Palaliito hierarchy there. And there will be Kupskorpio fans among the Finland support. I haven't spoken to any of them personally. I don't know what our old mate Rich thinks, but yeah, this, as I said previously, this sort of Arilahti conflict of interest thing just because the national team is going, the results are not going so well, keeps sort of rearing its ugly head. So yeah, maybe some tough few weeks ahead, maybe.
Well, in those tough few weeks ahead, lead us up to the final couple of games in the Nations League, which is firstly Thursday, 14th of November, Finland away to Ireland. That's 9:45 kickoff finish time. And then Sunday the 17th, Finland at home to Greece. It's nice. Sunday evening, 7 p.m. kickoff. I've really grown to appreciate a 7 p.m. kickoff. When I was over in the UK and we would sit down and watch a game that started at 8 and finished at 10. Oh, lovely. Nowadays, well, as you know, most games I'm starting to watch at 9:45 and matchsticks keep my eyes open for the end of the second half. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I'll be in Dublin. But yeah, I don't know. Don't know if I'll be on my own. I'm sure there'll be a few of the hardcore will be making the trip. But and listen, we'll have a little sing song and a few Guinnesses, I suppose, and see what happens. But
well, a win against Ireland also puts pressure on them going into the last game where, I mean, they will play against England in the last game and probably won't expect anything from that. And we're at home to Greece. If we can nick a point, we stay up. Beat Ireland, draw with Greece, stay up, I reckon.
Easy.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that, but
I'm not sure staying up really suits us. Can we not just get relegated and play some
and win some games? Yeah, maybe the team has stretched as far as
it's about time we played Romania again.
Yeah, that's the worry, though, isn't it?
That's what the ring needs. Do you know what I mean? If I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
But before those games come along in 4 weeks' time, the Helmarit are back in action in about 10 days from now, and they've got a sort of a two-legged playoff semi-final, I suppose, against Montenegro. So Friday, 25th, and then playing at home on Tuesday, 29th. And the winner of that game plays against the winner of Hungary and Scotland. And I think that's also a double-legged final, two-legged final as well. So, Keke, maybe don't need to run through the entire squad necessarily. We'll put the information about the Helmarit squad in the blog post. But any players that sort of stood out for you, new players or returning players in there?
Yeah, I mean, there's Sani Ojanen from KIF Orebro in Sweden, who gets a call up. That was a standout one. Sofia Matta from Glasgow City, playing a football in Scotland. Do believe that's her first call up to the squad. So yeah, another standout. Una Siren, who has recently signed for West Ham United in London.
Oh, that's one of your girls. That's someone else for you to stalk in the Women's Super League.
So yeah, that's an interesting one. And no Finland squad is complete without someone from Huuhkajat. So we've got who gets a call up from Huuhkajat in the Kansallinen Liiga.
Yeah, as Farid said in the WhatsApp group, he said that it's good to see at least one player from the Kansallinen Liiga there in the squad. So good luck to Lily there.
All the familiar names that all the fans will be familiar with. They're playing their football at some really great clubs in some really really quality leagues. So obviously you want to see girls from Kansallinen Liiga make that pathway through to the national team. But it's credit to these girls that they're playing at such a standard that they're getting taken away to big foreign leagues. So
yeah, they come through the Kansallinen Liiga, don't they? So and then they get their move overseas and then into the national team. So it's not it's doing its job anyway.
Yeah, that certainly is. So yeah, I mean, we'll obviously have eyes on that game, and hopefully we can get together and speak about the national team in a bit more positive vibe.
Yeah, I guess the game. So the second game of those is in 2 weeks' time. So I guess we'll get together sometime later that week and have a look back just at those. Maybe look back at the Helmarit games and what's happening at the end of the Veikkausliiga.
Oh, tasty.
Sounds like a plan, doesn't it? I don't know about you two, but I reckon that just about wraps it up there. Keke, have you got any shout outs you want to do?
I just want to say that the obviously after the sad news that I had to convey on the last episode, I just want to say a big thank you to the Pohjoiskaarre and SMUK who paid tribute to our friend Ville at the Helsinki Olympic Stadium and on the Marsi as well. So they've done Ville proud, and the book of condolence has been going around the various Helsinki hotspots before the two games, and as everyone's popped down their condolences in there. So well done, SMU Core.
Ali, anything from you? Have you scored any goals lately?
Well, it depends. I can't remember the last time I was on this show talking about myself, I suppose.
I think we've given
But
you a couple of shout outs for your
yeah,
goals.
you have, which I do appreciate. Well, I mean, if you're counting, 13 goal involvements in 14 games, and Friday it was the end of season do, and I ended up winning Player of the Season, which was a nice little surprise for me. My speech was terrible. I definitely needed. They didn't give me a trophy, but they did give me a Finkino voucher, which is very useful.
I don't know, Keke. What do you think about all these foreign players coming over here and taking the places of the local lads? It's not on, is it?
Listen, I like to see Ali chipping in with his goals, and my friend Vili Hirsikangas, his son plays for Ponnistus, so he goes along and watches a lot of the Ponnistus games. So I'm glad that Ali's doing good things for that club.
Yeah, well done, Ali. I'm just jealous that you've still got energy in your legs for running around kicking a football. It's been too long since I've been able to do it. I played two games about two and a half years ago in the summertime, and my knees were shot for about 3 months. So I either need new knees or to lose a bit of weight, and I know which one's probably easier. Right, let's leave it there. Keke, thanks for being there. It's good to catch up. And Ali, nice to see you in 3D. You did a sterling job too. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
And listener, until the next episode, thanks for listening to the Finnish Football Show. Goodbye. You've been listening to the Finnish Football Show. You can find us online at finishfootballshow.com. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening or watching. You can follow the Finnish Football Show page and group on Facebook and also on Instagram. Escape to Suomi on Twitter is now Finnish Football Show on X. And you will find us on Blue Sky at Finnish Football Pod. See the links in the episode description, along with the links to the Finnish Football Show merch shirts.